What's going on, guys? Drop your comments down below. I'm still trying to figure out the whole YouTube live streaming thing, so I apologize if there's any glitches. How's everybody doing today? All right, we got to vote for the YouTube live sessions. Drop any comments that you have down below. We'll get this started today. Hey, Carlson, I appreciate the kind words. I got a question that says Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know what that means. What about him? He's a cool dude. You look like him. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's a beautiful day out. Drop any med school questions that you guys have, whether it's residency related, studying related, anything. I'm driving to the hotel down here in South Florida. Got interviews lined up for tomorrow. Got a interview lunch and interview dinner at a different practice, and we're just trying to make some connections. Carlson said, Zoom is fine for planning ahead. The beauty of YouTube is that it's easier to do spontaneous live. Just my 2 cents. You know, I think you're right. I think you're right, man. What I'll probably end up doing is, I think, unless something changes, obviously I'm still just experimenting with different tech. What I'll do is that scheduled lives will be on Zoom, and then anytime that I just have some free time throughout the week, I'll just hop on YouTube. Give that a shot. But at the end of the day, I'm down for anything. Whatever you guys want is what I'll do. You guys got anything planned for this week? We're down in Miami right now, Miami, Florida. It is hot out. Super freaking hot. Gotta figure out where this hotel's at. Do you guys have any medical school questions? Anything about recipe, about training, about studying, lines? Carlson said, do you feel like technique is as good for step 2 as content knowledge? I think so. I'm doing a 4-hour UWorld self-assessment practice exam for step 2. What do you mean by technique? Do you mean test taking techniques? What exactly are you asking? I want to make sure I answer this as best as possible for you. While you're typing back, I'm gonna pull up my GPS here, so hold on one second. All right, and we are off. But I think what you're asking here is test taking techniques, and I really do think that they're super crucial. I mean, if you're studying 24/7 but your score's not going up, then there's clearly something else that you're missing. So, and I tell students this all the time. I've taken every single NBME dozens and dozens of times at this point, and every single year when they release a new one, there's stuff I don't know. Just straight up, there's stuff I don't know, stuff that I've never seen tested before. I remember the very first time that this happened to me was after I'd already been through everything I've been teaching for like 3 or 4 years. And there is a question about aortic valve area and jet velocity on an NBME for the indications for aortic valve replacement. I had literally never seen that before in my entire life. And when I got that question, I'm like, dude, how is there still stuff that I've never even once seen before? But the thing is if you have the test taking skills, if you've done the reps, if you've figured out how the NBME test writers write, then you're able to reason through these types of things. And so even if you don't know directly the correct answer, you can still get to a reasonable answer. And sure, you might get it down to only 50-50. Totally happens. But at the end of the day, if you're able to use those reasoning skills, you're going to do a lot better than somebody that just has brute memorization capacity with no ability to work through novel questions, because there's always going to be new questions, literally always. Good question, Carlson. Alondra said, hello, Dr. Price. Any suggestions or thoughts on practice exams, UWorld Self-Assessment 1 versus 2 versus NBME versus Free Run 37 for USMLE Step 3, if they are worth it? And if so, when to take them in relation to exam? All right, I'm like holding up traffic here. Absolutely. The biggest thing with taking the practice tests for USMLE Step 3 is that you're essentially just working on that endurance, right? So if you're in residency or you're in between med school and residency, you don't have a lot of crazy high times where you're studying 24/7 anymore, because you're balancing a lot of other things with your life, right? And so the best thing that you can do is to stack on the UWorld self-assessments, and even some people like to take 2 of them back to back to build that endurance. And so that's super helpful for you. In that regard. Number 2 is, no matter how much we try to simulate that we are taking a practice set of 40 questions like we are on exam day, it's never the exact same, right? Like, no matter how much you try and pretend like you're locked in, you're in the zone, it's a lot different than the mindset that goes into actually taking a practice test. So for that regard, I always recommend it. And as for your question about when should you do it, I don't recommend taking a practice test for Step 3 until you've been through all of UWorld. And so that sounds like a lot of questions to get done before you even start taking practice assessments. But you're going to be able to see on your UWorld percentage where you're at score-wise. So obviously, if you're scoring 70% at the beginning of UWorld and by the end of it you get up to 80%, then you made progress. You can see on the bar and line charts within UWorld software. Another thing is that if you really adamantly do not want to wait till then, I highly recommend having at least went through all the secret archives before you take a practice test. And that's kind of my stipulation is, in general, for most recommendations, I say finish UWorld, go through the secret archives once, take a practice test. But if you really just want to take one to see where your baseline is, I will take one after going through the secret archives, because it's going to help really boost your performance by at least 10-15 points with just one singular run through of it. So that's a huge thing for you, just to be able to save yourself time on the back end with the review process. Because if you're missing like 20% less questions just because you already know the content, it makes your actual review process so much more streamlined. So that's really one of the big benefits. I always tell people the secret archives, the benefit of them, sure, you're gonna see stuff that you won't see literally anywhere else, like period. But the other benefit is that you're saving yourself an immense amount of time. Got a comment from Josh here in the chat. Yo, Dr. Price, wanted to say that I'm super grateful for the research template you gave in the members area. Helped me to reach some mentors and have started working on 2 case reports. Dude, that's awesome. I'm really glad that that was helpful for you. One of the, I think, most slept on portions of the members area is actually the research modules. Like, I would say probably my favorite is the self-optimization and self-development modules. I really like those ones. I think they're applicable to anybody in the process, whether you're a med school or residency. But the research ones, you can save yourself a ton of time by actually knowing how to get research, how to structure your research, how to basically bang out as many projects as humanly possible. So I'm really glad that you're taking advantage of that, man. Wanted to ask if it's possible to publish 2 case reports in the space of 4 months. Would like some tips on how to get them accepted for publications. Dude, what are you trying to get your case reports published in? What topics? Is it possible? Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Mohammed said, what are these questions everyone is talking about on the exam? So basically every USMLE, you're gonna have experimental questions. And so these are ones that have not been actually approved to be worth points on your scoring. And so they're ones that the NBME puts onto a select number of people's tests that they see how people are scoring. So obviously if people are scoring like 10% on those questions, they're absolutely trash questions. They're not ones that are usable to test people's metric of knowledge by. And if people are scoring 90% on those questions, then that means that they're too easy. So they test the questions out for a couple seasons before they actually put them on the real deal test. That's what your experimental questions are. Carlson said, what are the secret archives? Secret archives are the content that I've put together that covers basically everything for your shelf exam, step 2 and step 3. It's the most streamlined approach. It's got a lot of my best content I've put out. Very similar to the crash course videos on YouTube, if you guys have seen those, like the internal medicine crash course, the MSK crash course, cardiology. Those are like intro versions of what's in the secret archives. Josh said, heme onc, it's a DLBCL case of a patient who presented unusually with isolated splenic infarcts. Yeah, dude, I mean, if this is something that there's not a lot of cases out there in the literature about that, then certainly it's something you can pull off and get published in the next 4 months. There's a bunch of different ways to get stuff published. I recommend going through my research ebook that's in the research modules, and it'll break down what's kind of like a long-term play for you. Whereas if you want to bang it out and get it published even quicker, there's multiple ways to get case reports published in an expeditious time frame. Muhammad said, and sorry if I miss anybody's questions here, I'm just trying to skim through these. Muhammad said, at least how many questions one should get right in step 2 to get a good score? What's the threshold? Dude, the rule of thumb is the 10,000 question rule. And I'm not saying you have to do 10,000 questions, but you have to have the impact of doing 10,000 questions. And so that's actually something that I created with the reverse pyramid protocol. It's a way to save yourself about 43% of the time that it takes to get through your questions. So in reality, you only need to do about 6,000 questions, but if you do them correctly, you'll have the impact of 10,000 questions. And that's one of the things that I learned early on is the 10,000 hour rule in terms of how many hours it takes to reach excellence on anything. And so if you're a pilot, it takes 10,000 hours of flight time to be an expert. If you're a surgeon, it takes 10,000 hours of operating time to be an expert, and so on and so forth for any field that's highly specialized. And so with that being said, I transitioned the 10,000 hour rule into the 10,000 question rule. But a lot of people get that screwed up and they think that you actually have to do the 10,000 questions. That's not really reasonable for most students. And so depending on what score you want is going to depend on the threshold of performance you need to have on this question. So like obviously somebody that's aiming for a 250 is going to have to do a different level of work output than somebody that's trying to get a 270. Like you can't walk into your test day with a 70% average on your questions and think you're going to pull a 270. It's just not reasonable. Let's see here. All right. Noted, man. Sounds cool. Safe driving. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. How's everybody doing? Are you guys having a good week, though? Muhammad said, do you give individualized mentoring? Yeah, absolutely. We have the accelerator programs, the VIP Mastermind program. The VIP Mastermind is really for people that need an extensive amount of help, and that's one-on-one help, unlimited, as much as you need, whether it's calls, text, live videos. All my content within all my programs are included. So it really just depends on what you need. Letty said, shout out Haktua from Thailand, please, brother. Blessings. Y'all are wild. Y'all are wild. Give me 1 second. Let me hop on the GPS and make sure I'm on the right track, and I'll be on this road. Let me check the poll, see where you guys are at. Zoom or YouTube? It looks like everybody's voting for YouTube. It's kind of interesting. I just started these YouTubes. I literally have no idea how to even do them. But it's kind of more fun than the Zoom. It's just a different software. Allows you guys to be more interactive in the chat. I think it's cool. There's benefits to everything though. What do you guys want to know? What can I teach you? What do you want to hear about? Any kind of strategies? Something that's really been weighing on you? Whatever it is, I'm here to help. Appreciate you guys tuning in here, liking the live session, dropping good questions. It all helps. It means a lot. What year are you guys? M1, M2, third year, fourth year? Where are you at in the process? M4, let's go. Dude, good luck on the match process. You're almost there, man. It's stressful, it's crazy, it's super busy, but it's all worth it. One of the biggest things that I tell my mentees is this journey, it sucks from start to finish, but when you're in residency and you're actually caring for your patients, you're actually making decisions, you're helping them, you're seeing the direct ramifications of your effort, it pays off, man. Seeing the patient thank you and really be appreciative that you were able to help them live a longer and better life, it's a good feeling for sure. Josh said, It's a cool week. Going to start working in a job for a bit, plus working the case reports I mentioned. Heard you got stuck in the airport, doc. All good. Oh, dude, it's the last 2 times I've flown, I feel like I've just been crazy, man. Like the first time was with that whole tech outage you guys maybe heard with the CrowdStrike issue. I spent the night overnight in Atlanta, literally sleeping on the floor because there's no hotels within the entire city because they're all completely booked out from thousands and thousands and thousands of people whose flights got all laid up. And then even this weekend, whenever I was flying, American Airlines is just so backed up. Their flights are delayed. Like, it just seems like nothing's as streamlined with flights as it used to be. It's kind of crazy. What job you working, man? Where are you working at now, Josh? Carlson said, thanks. Is lifestyle the best factor to use for deciding between anesthesiology and surgery? I don't like that everyone keeps saying lifestyle this, lifestyle that, as if it's all that matters. Dude, I don't think lifestyle has anything to do with it, really. I mean, your lifestyle is going to be what you make of it. And this is going to be, I want you to actually, like, legitimately take note of what I'm about to say here, because I wish somebody would have said this to me back in the day. Your lifestyle is 100% dependent upon the job that you take outside of residency. So, for example, your residency years are going to be tough pretty much no matter what specialty. Like, sure, some have more hours, some might push 80 to 100 hours, whereas some are 60 to 80, whatever. They're all pretty tough. At the end of the day, though, those 3 to 7 years of residency is only 3 to 7 years, whereas what you're doing for the next 40 years of your career is what actually matters, right? And so you could find, let's just say vascular surgery, for example, since that's what I do. You could find a job in vascular surgery that pushes you 120 hours every week. You're covering 3 hospitals and you're operating until 4 a.m. every day. You could find that easily. In fact, that's a lot of the jobs out there. But on the other hand, you could also find an outpatient vein job where you work 4 days per week, 9 to 5, no call, no weekends, and make more money than the surgeon that's operating 24/7. So lifestyle doesn't matter, man. It's about what kind of a job opportunity that you take, and it's about what you do with the skill set that you learn during residency. And I say this with the experience of somebody that's literally in the process of looking for a job right now. There's literally 4 day per week vascular surgery jobs that have an infinite better lifestyle that make more money than the jobs that work you 24/7, 365. So don't just pick a specialty because of the perceived lifestyle in residency. It's all about what you do with it after residency. Josh said, I'm working in Marcus Evans as a conference content producer, planning to expand my networks and get some experience in this area. All right, man, that's awesome. That's good stuff. Carlson said, you use vascular surgery as an example since it's what you do. Do you think the same applies to neurosurgery? Well, I'll be honest, man. Obviously, I don't have experience in neurosurgery, but it's all about, you need to look to see. You can actually go online right now onto the job boards and see. Like, you can just take it upon yourself to figure this out and see, is there private practice jobs? Is there only academic jobs? I'm sure there's some private practice neurosurgeons out there. I don't know what percentage of the job opportunities that is. Again, like, I don't have any experience in that metric, so I'm not sure. But you can literally just look at the job boards and see what's out there, and that will be your answer right away. Like, if you can't find a singular neurosurgery job that offers any sort of work-life balance on the job boards, then you just got your answer. You just got your answer, man. And to find job boards, I mean, you can go to different places like Doc Cafe. You can look at the Society for Neurosurgery job board. I'm sure there's one. Most of the surgical societies have their own job board postings. Usually those are more of the academic jobs, but you can still find some private practice jobs on there. And once you start talking to recruiters, you can start really finding a lot of opportunities. And so what I recommend is find the state that you want to practice and just start cold emailing some of the recruiters that are on those sites and ask them, hey, like, do you know any opportunities in the private sector or in the academic sector or the private equity sector whatever type of a job you're interested in, and they'll start networking because they get a commission for finding you a job. So they're going to really look hard to find you a job. So there's plenty of opportunities out there. You just have to really go out there and look for them. And a lot of people don't tell you this because for some reason in medicine, talking about finances and money and lifestyle is one of those things that's, I don't know, it's not that it's looked down upon, but it's kind of like hush-hush. Like nobody wants to tell you like, oh, this is how much my contract was for my first job or my second job, or this is what the career trajectory is. I mean, it's really hard to wade through all the BS if you don't have somebody in your corner that's open and willing to help share that information with you. That's my 2 cents at least. Carlson said, solid advice, by the way. Thank you. Yeah, man, of course. Happy to help. Ali Assad said, if you don't mind me asking, when you were a medical student, roughly how much time did you spend on research and how did you balance that with shelf exams? Dude, that's a good question. So I'll be honest, I spent a very minuscule amount of time on research compared to what a lot of people do. I'll be super honest with that. And the reason being is because if you can figure out how to actually get your projects done and published and presented at conferences quickly, you don't need to spend a lot of time on that. I mean, I probably spent, I want to say, across 4 years of medical school. I used to actually know the number, but it's been so long since I thought about this that I honestly don't remember the exact statistic, but it was less than 50 hours for sure to get like close to 20 presentations and publications and abstract submissions and stuff like that. I spent almost no time on it, man. And that's why I wrote my research ebook that's in my coaching programs, and it literally breaks down step by step every single thing that I did to get every project. It's like A through Z. It's like, first A, contact this person. B, contact this person. C, do this. D, do this. It's very, very, very straightforward, because once you figure out how to actually navigate the process and to save yourself time, I mean, there's some times where I'd submit an abstract and get 3 abstracts selected within 24 hours. Like one day of just working on it while I was on a rotation, while I was in the doctor's lounge in between surgeries. So it's hyper possible. You just have to really, really follow the process. That's the key. All right, we're getting off on the exit here. See a couple more questions here down in the chat. I got you in just a second. Looks like this is where we're going. All right, let's see. Carlson said, I know locums is becoming more popular for surgeons overall. Is that a way for surgeons to have a better lifestyle? So, as I'm just about to start my first job, I don't know from a personal experience, but I can tell you from the experience of one of my mentors. So she's also a vascular surgeon, obviously, and she was in between 2 jobs. So she got her very first job, and she liked it, but she didn't love it, and she thought the contract was pretty restricting. And with that being said, in between that job and her next job, she did locums. And so once she got out of her first contract, she did about 4 months or 6 months of locums while she was setting up her own practice. And now she's actually in Tennessee. She has her own practice there, and I mean, she is like really blown it up, like done an incredible job. Just, it's awesome the things that she's able to do in that like 4 to 6 months of locums. She used that to save a lot of money, and while she saved a lot of money, she set herself up for planning for starting her own practice. So I definitely think it's a opportunity that you can leverage, but like I said, I don't have any personal experience in it, so I don't want to steer you the wrong way. But definitely, from what I spoke to her about with it, she said that it was a perfect opportunity to be able to make an insane amount of money per hour while still having time and freedom to do other things. The biggest thing, though, is you have to be comfortable with being able to travel and go to the new jobs and be away from family occasionally and stuff like that. Like, she came to practice in Arkansas with us, and we needed another vascular surgeon because we're super, super short, and it was just like not even sustainable with the amount of team that we had. And so she was filling in, and she was making probably like 2 or 3 times per shift how much that everybody else was making, because she was basically just filling in and doing like whatever needed done type of work, which obviously everybody really appreciated, but it's also very tiresome for sure. So depends on the opportunity. Some locums will put you in the middle of nowhere. Other locums will put you just in a busy facility. So you have to see what opportunities you're interested in and what's out there. But locums is certainly, you'll see, dude, when you start applying for jobs, if your number gets on a locums job board, you will be blown up like 24/7 by those recruiters trying to place you into jobs. I mean, literally, I've had to block so many of them because they will text you all day, every day, at any time of the day, telling you about job opportunities. And I'm like, dude, I'm not even interested in that state. I've told you this 5 times now. Like, I'm only interested in Florida. So why are you telling me about Ohio for the 4th time? Like, it just gets like out of hand. So that's something else you have to keep in mind. But I mean, it's all good. It's part of the process. And Ali Assad said, awesome, thank you, man. We'll take a look at that ebook for sure. Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. One of the things that I think is so underrated in this process of med school and residency is, even, you never know. You could hear one word from somebody that changes the trajectory of your life, literally. And for me, one of those words was a mentor that I had as a first-year med student. And she's currently an orthopedic surgeon. She finished up her fellowship. She's out practicing now in her first job, actually. And she taught me a lot about what I did not know as a first year in terms of timelines for studying, what to do, when to do it, a broad overview like that. And even though the process that she gave me was not hyper streamlined, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't even 1/1,000,000% as detailed as what we have in Action Potential mentoring now, but it was at least the framework, and it gave me the motivation to see that people are out there studying hard as heck, and you can't just rely on natural intelligence to get you where you want to be. And I mean, she's one of those people that you could tell talking with her, she's very, very bright, like incredibly smart, and even she was still putting in absurd hours of work. And so that kind of showed me, I was like, well, shoot, if she's working that hard, then that means I'm probably gonna have to work that hard. And it was just a good wake-up call, and just some of the things that she told me just changed my whole trajectory. I mean, she was the very first person I ever heard talk about UWorld, like my first couple months of med school. I didn't even know what it was, how to use it, anything like that. And so that opened up my eyes to practice questions. And then with seeing practice questions, I learned that it's a volume game, right? And so with the volume game, you have to put in the reps, otherwise you're not going to be able to improve. And so she told me, she was like, listen, I went through UWorld like 2 or 3 times minimum. I'm like, well, you know, that's probably what I'm going to have to do too. And like, you just start seeing the correlation between the work ethic that's required and the success that you can get. And I saw that she was one of the first people from my med school to match into orthopedic surgery. She was ranked #1 in the class. And it was just cool. It was cool seeing somebody that inspired you to reach that similar level of success by sharing their own trials and tribulations. And that's also part of what inspired me to start Action Potential, because I just wanted to make this process so much easier for everybody, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. We're all medical providers in the future. We're all going through 1,000,001 things in our own personal lives as well as in med school. And so if I can even save you 1 hour, 10 hours, 100 hours, 200 hours through the process, then it was all worth it. I mean, I've had students say that literally they would not have matched into the specialty that they matched in without having met me, and that's the best feeling ever. That's literally why I do this. So it's a good feeling, and I highly recommend each of you that if you've never mentored a younger student, even if it's just very superficially, like giving them some advice on weekends or anything like that, just being available for a text, it's worth it to do that, just to be able to give back in your own way. So hopefully that little side tangent story was helpful. hot out today, man. Super hot. What else can I do for you guys? Any questions? Anything that I can answer for you? Ali Assad said, another question, Dr. Price. As an IMG, I'm well aware of how competitive surgery is for IMGs to match into, let alone local U.S. students. Have you come across any IMGs in surgery yourself? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I will say, and I don't say this to discourage you even 1%, I just want to give you as real of an interpretation as I can. A number of the IMGs in surgery that I have either worked with or that I have helped match into surgery, a lot of them do a 1-year prelim before they go into a categorical position. And oftentimes, this is something that discourages a lot of people. It's something that I think is highly valuable. If you don't have a lot of US experience, like in the medical system, obviously it's going to be different than it is in other countries. I mean, just like if I went to the Netherlands and I practiced medicine, it would be much different for me than it would be here. And so if you treat that prelim year as an opportunity to prove yourself and to show that you can navigate the intricacies, you can bond with your patients, you can learn quickly on the job, then if your performance is high, then you're going to get the result you want, which is a categorical position. So there's definitely opportunities to be able to match into the specialties you want, no matter where you're from, what your background is, what your hierarchy of training level is. It doesn't matter. You can match into any specialty. It might be a little bit longer, it might be a little bit harder, but you just got to persevere. %. It's what it's all about at the end of the day, is finding what your dream is and then actually going to get that. Because it's not going to be easy. I can tell you that right now. It never is. It's not easy even if you feel like you have everything figured out, which almost none of us feel that way. And so you have to take the wins with the losses. And so a loss is giving up on your dream, but you can bounce back from just about anything else. I mean, I've had students fail their USMLE even like 2 times and still match into their goal specialty. So they come to me, they failed twice. They're like, hey, Dr. Price, I don't know what to do. I've tried everything. I just keep failing. I need different study techniques. Okay, cool. We figure it out then, and we just get you through it. That's what it's all about. But the biggest loss would have been just completely giving up. All right, looks like we got to the hotel here. We made it finally. Ali said, thank you so much. Came across this randomly while swimming. Wish I subscribed earlier. Dude, I appreciate it, man. If I can do anything to help you, just let me know. Share the YouTube page or the Twitter with your friends. I mean, that's where I'm the most active. I started doing the YouTube lives just to kind of see what it's like, and they're kind of fun. So hopefully it is beneficial for you in some way. You're able to learn something. All right. If anybody else has any questions, drop them now. Otherwise, we'll call it a day here. Looks like out of, let's see how many people voted. Out of 20 votes, we got 75% of people saying YouTube, 25% of people saying Zoom. Interesting. All right, awesome, guys. Hope everybody has a blessed day. Hopefully you're productive. You're able to spend a little bit of time with family and enjoy yourself. Take it easy, my friends.